In a world where everybody can code, what am I worth? I'm sure plenty of you have had the same question, especially if you've been an experienced software engineer, didn't grow up in the age of agentic coding. So to paraphrase Andrew Janian, who's the current CTO of Citadel, LLMs are to software engineering what the printing press is to literature. You know, on the surface, this analogy makes sense. LLM tools have had an outsized impact. We can write code far faster than any of us could type out 5, 6 years ago. You're able to kind of interface with what you're working with a bit differently. Is that it? Like, are we just all doomed to go the way of ancient scribes? If you view yourself as a coder, absolutely. But the last time I checked, our job title isn't coder. It's software engineer. A monastic scribe doesn't provide vision to a work. They just simply take the pre-existing ideas from that work and copy it into a new medium, in this case, a new book. Just like that, a coder takes in someone's vision and direction and translates that into software. LLMs have replaced the rote process of coding by hand, but not the engineers themselves. We think at a higher level than just the bare mechanics of code. We architect new paradigms. We envision new products. We draw from our life experiences. We solve problems, and sometimes we fail to solve those problems. We look at why we failed, and we change our future behavior. You may be wondering, how do you avoid becoming a scribe? Well, it's simple. Just don't be Sears. Yeah, so I'm Craig. I work at Citadel, and I lead a team of 4 deployed engineers that focus on user interface implementation through various teams at Citadel. But I'm not here to talk about any of that tonight. Since the advent of programmable computers, software engineers have been tethered to 3 anchors: time, knowledge, and skill. This has acted as a limiting factor for software evolution. I mean, you only have so much time, you can only write so much code, you only know your successes, your failures that you've experienced or that you've learned through others' experiences. This forces developers and the people that lead the developers to really think about how they apply their resources. I hate to say this, but we all have limitations. With the new technology that's been introduced over the past 4 or 5 years with LLMs, agentic coding, all these new tools, we can write code at a truly unprecedented rate. And more importantly, without a requisite technical knowledge that you normally would need. You know, you don't have to explain to someone what a terminal is. Cursor will just start it up for you. So, you know, we did it. We finally live in a world where everyone can code. You know, in the words of Elphaba from Wicked, if anyone's a musical fan out here, together we're unlimited. So with tools like Claude Code, Codex, Copilot, Cursor, why did all of these start with C's? Don't get it. Anyone can make software. You know, we've gone from begging people to study CS. Like, I remember in college, everybody can code was a huge thing, and that really fell off in recent years, and I wonder why. However, there's one person that's begging us to stop coding. That's GitHub. They're not having fun right now. So, as somebody who's spent years honing my skills, building software, solving problems, just kind of learning the craft of software engineering, as I use more and more of these tools, I'm left with a question. This is nagging in the back of my head. In a world where everybody can code, what am I worth? I'm sure plenty of you have had the same question, especially if you've been an experienced software engineer, didn't grow up in the age of agentic coding. It's probably come up when you hear a CEO talking about how they're replacing all of their engineers, or when you one-shot a feature in 10 minutes that would take you a day otherwise to implement. And this question's emotionally charged. Like, this is our livelihood, so this is what we enjoy doing. So, like, what do we do with these emotions? Well, we just turn them off, okay? That's a joke. Let's not turn the emotions off. Maybe there's some existential dread here, but let's channel that into playful curiosity. So to paraphrase Andrew Janian, who's the current CTO of Citadel, LLMs are to software engineering what the printing press is to literature. You know, on the surface, this analogy makes sense. LLM tools have had an outsized impact. We can write code far faster than any of us could type out 5, 6 years ago. Printing presses can output tons of pages at rates that you just physically could not write. It's not even a fair comparison. So it's really easy to fall into this notion that software engineers are like scribes, you know, the people who would hand copy a book. You know, historically, software engineers have been graded on the quality of their code, on the quality of their features, code quantity if you want to use some really terrible metrics. But It's a lot like a scribe getting graded for the accuracy of their copies. So I'm not sure if you just heard that knocking. That is existential dread at the door, but we're not going to let it. Let's dig a little deeper. So before the printing press, books were a luxurious commodity. They're handwritten. It takes forever to write one. It's attainable by few. A scribe is copying every single letter, writing it into a new book. This is a laborious process, a very high barrier to entry, and it prevents good ideas from circulating widely. Think of it with code. You have a good idea, but you don't have the time to do something with that idea. Now you can kind of just get Claude to help you. So a monastic scribe in pre-printing press times was expected to write about 3 to 4 pages a day. And by the time the Gutenberg press, which is the first printing press, came around, that turned into 3,600. So you know what this sounds like? It sounds like Claude Code versus VS Code. Like if I just pull up VS Code and start typing stuff out, it's going to take me quite a while. I go into Claude Code, build up something, super fast. Another parallel, when you work in Claude Code versus VS Code, it's kind of like working with a printing press versus hand copying something. If you're hand copying something, you know every single letter in the work that you have. Just like when I handwrite some code. I know everything that, maybe I knew it at one point when I was writing it, but definitely not now. But basically, you're able to kind of interface with what you're working with a bit differently. So is that it? Are we just all doomed to go the way of ancient scribes? If you view yourself as a coder, absolutely. But the last time I checked, our job title isn't coder, it's software engineer. A monastic scribe doesn't provide vision to a work. They just simply take the pre-existing ideas from that work and copy it into a new medium, in this case, a new book. Just like that, a coder takes in someone's vision and direction and translates that into software. The printing press replaced the rote process of writing copying a book by hand. It didn't replace the actual authors and writers in the first place. LLMs have replaced the rote process of coding by hand, but not the engineers themselves. In literature, a writer provides vision, they provide direction, they provide credibility to their works, and so do software engineers. We think at a higher level than just the bare mechanics of code. Otherwise, you deal with some of the worst code bases you've ever seen. And trust me, I've seen some terrible ones. We architect new paradigms. We envision new products. We draw from our life experiences. We solve problems, and sometimes we fail to solve those problems. We look at why we failed, and we change our future behavior. So, you may be wondering, how do you avoid becoming a scribe? Well, it's simple. Just don't be Sears. So how many of you are familiar with the retail chain Sears? I'm dating myself a little bit. Okay, good. So, for those of you unfamiliar, Sears used to be a department store chain in the US. They had everything from appliances to lawnmowers, clothes. They had salespeople roaming around that can help you pretty much find whatever you need in an instant. When e-commerce came around in the early 2000s, retail, like Sears, entered an inflection point. Amazon and other websites didn't have the costs that retail stores had. You don't have to pay for floor space. You don't have to pay for salespeople. So what did retail do? They tried to beat e-commerce at a game that they could never win, which was price. They made cuts throughout their stores, laid people off, didn't train their salespeople, so anytime you go up to someone, it's a terrible interaction. And then they expect you to just be okay with that. What they actually did was drive everyone to e-commerce. In the process of trying to beat Amazon at their own game, they destroyed that one thing that made them different. As humans, we have a capability to take in vast amounts of information and apply it to vastly different scenarios. We see, we smell, we hear, we feel, and we can remember all of that. We have our gut feelings, we have our irrational moments. All of that gives us a unique perspective, not only compared to an LLM or like Claude Code, but to each other. Think about the sum of, or the whole being greater than the sum of the parts. If you lose those unique parts of you in the favor of just trying to beat an LLM at getting technology out, you're making the same mistake as Sears. So to revisit the limiting factors at the beginning of the talk, what were they? Anyone?
Knowledge, skill.
Beautiful. Thank you. So what's stopping you? Every project that pops into your mind, what's stopping you? What's stopping you from adding yet another feature to your product? Limits are actually good when they force you to think laterally about a problem. In the past, if you couldn't implement a solution due to, let's say, accumulated tech debt that just would have made it take forever, or you needed another team to build out a new API and they weren't going to, you think about the problem differently. You can either go lateral, figure out, okay, is this the problem I actually need to solve? Can I solve something else? And oftentimes, that new solution was way better than what you would have written in the first place. Limits also help you stop from changing things too quickly. In the case of the previous anchors I talked about, that is an external limit. So how many of you are familiar with the Sharpe ratio? Anyone? So it's a method to grade a portfolio's rate of return based upon its variability. So if I have two portfolios that return 20%, you would at first glance think, oh my gosh, these are pretty much the same. I get 20% returns at the end of the year. This is awesome. Well, when you look at the profit and loss throughout the year, they don't look so equal anymore. Looks like crypto day trading versus an index fund. And I think it's clear that I'd put my money in portfolio B. When you build software, think of it like a portfolio. Every change you're making, every bug you introduce, every feature that you add, it compounds with your end user. As an end user, do you want software that gets a ton of features added daily and removed daily because they're buggy? What if every week you open up your email app and the new email button changes because someone decided it needed to change? Or would you rather have a more well thought out trickle of features that have been more tested and considered? Which of these would you trust with your portfolio? Those anchors that I talked about at the beginning, they keep volatility in check. You have limited resources. You have to allocate them effectively. Without these external limits, we, as software engineers, have to become the limits. Otherwise, we build software with a high Sharpe ratio, or as we've come to know, slop. If we don't provide the insight, the vision, the direction, what good are you over Claude or ChatGPT just running in a Ralph loop? We empathize with users. We know what works well, what doesn't. We are the difference between useful solutions and slop. Our standards and our experiences are what differentiate us. A fun take. Software engineering isn't about. It's really about solving a problem with technology. What to do, especially now, is way more important than knowing how to do. Why? Because my gosh, Cursor can handle the how super fast, and it's awesome. But a lot of times it falters on the what, the why, like those vision pieces. An LLM doesn't know why users hate your product because they haven't struggled with an airline's horrendous booking website when all you want to do is avoid a middle seat. LLMs can still forget what you said earlier in a chat, whereas you can remember that awkward thing you said to your crush in 4th grade. LLMs are a beautiful solution to the mechanics of writing code, just like the printing press was for the distribution of literature. It's not a solution to solving problems in and of themselves. And why? Because they're not anchored with vision, intuition, and empathy. But here's the thing. How many of you are familiar with the concept of leverage? So once again, for those who aren't familiar with leverage, it is a way to amplify your investment's returns in a particular portfolio by borrowing money. So think a 10x leverage and your portfolio gains 1%. It's like it gained 10%. This is really awesome when you have a trading strategy that actually makes money. But if you have a trading strategy that loses money, you didn't lose 1%, you lost 10. LLMs are leverage for engineers. When wielded well, an engineer with an LLM can make an outsized impact on their organization, on the product that they have. When wielded poorly, it has catastrophic results and leads to an absolutely unmaintainable code base. Leverage doesn't make returns. It can help you make returns, but it doesn't in and of itself. You're the difference here. I think it's safe to say that software has become much more democratized. But here's the thing. When everyone can code, what sets you apart are your standards, are your instincts, are the direction that you have. You know what features you shouldn't introduce. You know your customers' pain points. All you have to do is care. In closing, LLMs have fundamentally changed how software is written. I think we can all agree with that. As I look to the future of software engineering, one thing that is more and more clear to me, your humanity is the key. Thank you.